I can point you in the right direction. That's easy. You hear me? That's real easy. But you're going to have to do the footwork. I can't do that for you. We got our own shoes to wear, you hear me? Stillness and abundance, love and light, health and wholeness 3 times. 3 times. You can recite that to yourself 3 times. Claim that for yourself. We got a long one tonight, so I don't want to do too much talking. I know y'all heard it before. It's better to have it than not to need it. Than need it and not to have it. Now, even though I heard that on an insurance commercial, that's not what I'm talking about. Although we all may need some insurance at some point in time. But I'm talking about soul. I'm talking about soul. And I don't know about everybody else, but I had to be my own savior. And I became that through the things that I understand. I say that to say, I came with enough for everybody. And I came with enough for anybody. But it ain't for everybody. And that's a tough lesson to learn. But we all gonna learn it, you hear me? With that, we're going into the metaphysical meaning of Mary as it applies to the soul. If you ain't got one of these books, it's a good book to have. I will say it again, especially if you come over here, because every now and then when we go into it, if you got one in front of you, it'll really amplify and magnify, you know, the lessons that I share from it to a whole nother degree. Metaphysical Bible Dictionary by Charles Fillmore. Mary, also known as the Cherub, also known as a Targetess, also known as the Black Madonna, also known as Helen of Troy, also known as Isis, also known as Malinche, also known as Sarah Kali, also known as Kalima, also known as the list Kuan Yin, Yemaya. The list can go on and on. Do your research and then research, you hear me? That's just to drop some extra jewels on y'all. This ain't gonna be in the book. That's why it's a good thing to have the book. So if you following as I read from the book, you can see the jewels that I really be dropping in according to whatever I be reading when I'm reading from something. You hear me? Mary, contradiction. These are the meanings. Rebellious outcry, bitter complaint, bitterness, myrrh, bitter waters, aromatic spirits. So if y'all know anything about those other deities, then you probably can also correlate some of the correspondences by the definition that I just read. Metaphysical meaning of Mary. Oh, before I go to that, I don't want to shortcut us. It says A, Mother of Jesus, Matthew 1:18 through 22. Mary Magdalene, out of whom Yeshua cast 7 demons and who became one of his most devout followers. I ain't gonna go on that. Luke 8:2, John 21:11 through 18. C, Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus. Luke 10:39, John 11:1 and 2. D, Mother of John, Mark, Acts 12:12. E, other Marys are also mentioned in John 19:25, Romans 16 through 6. We talk about consciousness. It's a lot of Marys on the planet, but out of all the Marys on the planet, which one actually embodied the Mary state of consciousness, which I'm about to read? Since we are aware, those who've been following for the time that you have been following, you are aware that each and every name in this book represents a state of consciousness, even if it's a place, because places represent states of consciousness too. That's why people may want to go to Arizona, you know, or Colorado, you know, or Las Vegas, according to the spiritual vortexes that's in those areas. Y'all walk with me. Metaphysical meaning the feminine, the soul, the yin, the affectional and emotional phase of man's being, both when seemingly bound and limited by sensate thought, and in its freed, exalted state. So that means that's both sides of it. That's the chaos. That's the chaos and the order. That's the chaos and the order. Mary, the mother of Yahshua, represents the soul that magnifies the Lord daily in the temple and through its devotions prepares itself for the higher life. She signifies the divine motherhood of love. She can also be said to be intuition. Y'all pay attention. Yahshua, the perfected man manifestation, is conceived in the intuitive or soul nature and is molded in its substance. This coming out of the Christ body, your smart body, your I body, you feel me, into activity is the result of an exalted ideal sown in the mind and matured by the soul, which represents Mary. The soul is devout and expectant. It believes in the so-called miraculous as a possibility. To those who believe or have soul, to those who believe, or another way it is to say that is, to those who have soul, all things are possible. Mary expected the birth of the Messiah according to the promise of the Holy Spirit. She was overshadowed or consumed by that high idea. It formed in her mind the seed. Thoughts form a seed in our mind that quickeneth into the cell. And in due season, there were aggregations of cells strong enough in their activity to attract the attention of the outer consciousness, and what is called the birth of Christ took place. So we could do this in the positive, or we could do this in the negative. You know, y'all may have heard me say that sickness is a dis-ease, not a disease, but a dis-ease in the way that we think, and those thoughts form in ourselves and take shape in our organs and in our bodies. And that's how we come up with so forth and so on. You hear me? And we have to run to the doctor. Y'all walk with me. In other words, it's in you, not on you. Mary, the soul, the mother of Yahshua, as mentioned in Luke 2:34-35, refers to the conservative, conventional principle that suffers when the new order of life and law is set up. The soul has been bound by race tradition and customs until it is atrophied. Now it is coming to life, and in its travail, it reveals the Lord's body. This is another way of saying the dark nights of the soul that we go through. Mary, the mother of Yahshua, Mary Magdalene, Mary of Bethany, Martha, and the other women who were with Yahshua and his disciples so much during his ministry, who ministered unto them of their substance. I'm going to read that again. Mary, the mother of Yahshua, Mary Magdalene, Mary of Bethany, Martha, and the other women who were with Yahshua and his disciples so much during his ministry, who ministered unto them of their substance. All represent phases of the individual soul. So when I say things like resource your resources, replenish where you get your plenishing, your nourishment from, that's gold that ties into that. The soul consciousness in each individual is capable of the strongest, the deepest, and the fullest allegiance of truth. It is constantly seeking something that will satisfy. It can never be happy or at peace until the feelings are redeemed and harmonized by the Holy Spirit, until God's presence is known, is felt, and is fully realized through the individual being. We have to do the work ourselves. Nobody can do it for us. Through Yahshua, 7 demons were cast out of Mary Magdalene. This means that the I in man, the directive will, or higher self, raised to divine understanding, understanding, and overstanding, and power, releases the soul from the emotional errors that have their existence in the ungenerated feelings and establishes peace and poise in the consciousness. So if you trigger, this a way for you to recognize for what it is and then do something about it with what you're being shown. As the soul is purified and lifted day by day out of the bondage of the errors, as the soul is purified day by day, so that means you got to do it each and every day. If you miss a day, you already unplugged. It's just like a workout. If you miss a day, you're gonna feel it when you crank back up. And I don't took a few days off. I ain't gonna even cap. And I skipped leg day this week and all. But you know, it ain't no excuse. It ain't no excuse, you hear me? As the soul is purified and lifted day by day out of the bondage of the errors, the demons, the negative thoughts, the not being patient with yourself, not treating yourself kind. And you see, it pours out upon the whole body consciousness more and more of its wealth of substance, of life, and of love. More especially are this devotion and service directed to the I am and the individual represented by Yahshua, thus greatly aided it in its ministry of truth throughout the organism. See, so I ain't need Jesus to do it for me. I just needed to know what he knew, if Jesus ever existed. Walk with me. We may have been inclined to belittle the value of the feminine side of our nature, the feelings and affections, which are the seat of the emotions in our unredeemed state, belong to the soul. See, so it ain't good to be hard all the time. Like Cat Williams said, and they could be mad at, you know, people be mad at breakfast. It ain't good to be like that. You know, it ain't good to be tough all the time. It ain't good to be those things because of what it do inside. Walk with me. The purification of the soul and the wealth of its devoted, sustaining qualities are needed in the regeneration of the body as much as it is the quickening of the disciples, or your thought faculties, or your nerve centers, which we send all these toxic things through vibratorily. The 12 faculties of mind, both soul and understanding, which is love and wisdom, must enter into our affirmations of truth if those affirmations are really to become substance and life to us. So for those who be doing affirmations and wondering why we're not seeing no fruit from the affirmations that we be using, what part of your being is not attached to that? What part of your being don't believe what you're saying? What part of your being is not attached to what you're saying? What part of your being is not feeling what you're saying? Without the depths of the feeling, quality and soul consciousness, which Mary Magdalene seemed especially to symbolize, we should be like one before whom a table is prepared as for a great feast. The table is laid with fine linen and silver. All the dishes and arrangements are perfect, but there's nothing to eat. Or if there should be something to eat, it would be as food without flavor, no seasoning. A service rendered without the depth of love and feeling, without the very substance of one's own being, is only a form, empty. So if y'all copy from me, y'all getting it exclusive. Y'all getting it full of love and everything else. You hear me? In Luke 8:1-3, John 19:25, and John 20:11-18, we find Mary Magdalene among those following Jesus, Yahshua, from place to place, ministering to him. We see her by the cross and standing at the tomb weeping. Then the angels appear to her. Next, the risen Yahshua reveals himself to her, and she goes to tell the disciples, or the cells, the glad news. Thus, the soul ever remains with the object of its devotion. When one's love is established in truth, the soul stays closest to the divine. When the human goes through crucifixion and dying to self daily, ripping myself apart daily, the soul remains with it to befriend and help, the comforter. When everything apparently is lost, the purified soul is constant and true. When everything apparently is lost, I ain't never lost nothing that I needed to keep. See, all these sayings that I use come from the understandings and comprehension of the things that I digest myself with, the type of food that I eat. Y'all walk with me. When everything apparently is lost, the purified soul is constant and true. When the resurrection light breaks into consciousness, the soul feels, perceives the light first, and conveys the joyful tidings to the more outer faculties of the disciples, cells, the organs, the body. Mary Magdalene can also be explained as representing the psychic realm of consciousness. This realm is demonized, and from it, Yahshua put forth 7 devils, Luke 8:2. It is there that the emotion have their centers of action. It is the seat of desire. Its lower stratum is sensation. Now we're talking about, we're down in the root center now. The serpent that tempted Eve to eat of the reverse life and substance of the generative nature, which is in the very center of the body. the fruit of the tree in the midst of the Garden of Eden. When the sight tastes this animal sensation, it becomes so infatuated with its newfound source of pleasure that it communicates its infatuation to the reason, and Adam also eats. Now we in the sacral center. Then trouble for man begins. Instead of an ascending, refining process in the consciousness, we have a descending, coarsening process. This proceeds to a point where the higher faculties separate from the lower, and man is a god in ruins. This sin leads to, or this error leads to sickness and death. The fires of lust and remorse burn in mind and body, and hell is made. But this God in ruins must be rebuilt. God sends his Christ into the soul, sick of its fleeting lust, in the process of again connecting Adam and Eve, right and left, yin and yang. Yahshua is Adam resurrected in understanding. Mary Magdalene is Eve purified in desire. In the narrative of the resurrection of Yahshua, an element of human sympathy is pictured in the loving Mary who stooped and looked into the tomb for the Lord. He had risen, however, and she found him walking in the garden. Beware the limitations of human love. Look for your masterful I am thought. Beware of the limitations of human love. Look for your masterful I am thought. Yahshua in the omnipresent living force and vitality of the one life that is penetrating and permeating every part of our body, which is in the garden of God. Human sympathy holds us to material conditions when we think that we are free. Human sympathy holds us to material conditions when we think that we are free. Those who are spiritualizing the consciousness are very apt to be pulled back into sense ways through their personal loves when about to succeed. Those who are spiritualizing the consciousness are very apt, are very prone, are very tempted, okay, to be pulled back into sense ways through their personal loves when about to succeed. Who are you doing it for? Who are we doing it for? When Yahshua said to Mary, "Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended unto the Father," he represented the wisdom of the I am, which does not allow personal love to bind it on its upward way. Why seek ye the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. The weeping Mary and the sad disciples stooping and looking into the tomb for their living master suggests here the forgetfulness of sense consciousness. Yahshua plainly taught that he would rise from the dead, yet his disciples forgot this and sought amongst the dead for the living. I came here and forgot what I was sent for, but through the things that I went through, I got back on my path. You don't listen, you're going to miss it. Christians who continue to think only about the crucified Yahshua are looking into the tomb, trusting in death to save them, instead of looking up to the risen, glorified Christ, who is life, who is wholeness, who is truth in each and every one of you. Mary of Bethany represents the devotional soul, and Martha represents the practical soul. Martha provides the material necessities, and Mary the spiritual, while Lazarus sits at meat or abides as the living substance or the manna of the subconscious. Mary, the inner devotional side of the soul, is grateful for the awakening of her brother Lazarus because she depends for her manifestation on the subconscious life which he represents. Watch what you feed yourself. Watch the food that you eat. Mary and Martha also represents two aspects of love. Martha, the love that ministers to the physical, and Mary, that's what attends to the spiritual. Both are friends to Yahshua, but he commends Mary above Martha. Luke 10:41-42. Martha does not consider that anything has been made done unless there is external evidence. The seeing is believing people, no faith, such as ministering to the body and its needs. But Mary sits at the feet of Yahshua. John says that Mary poured the ointment upon Yahshua's feet. Feet symbolizes the understanding. And when Mary pours upon Yahshua's feet the precious ointment, she is symbolically bathing his understanding with the fragrance of love. This lesson of John 12, 1 through 8 and Matthew 26, 6 through 13 is of great importance to metaphysicians. The tendency is to concentrate on the understanding and to count its logic and cold reason as fulfillment of the law. But we learn by experience that the cold science of mind, without the warmth of the heart, is a very chilly place, a very chilly doctrine. The floodgates of divine love must be opened in the soul, and its precious fragrant ointment must be poured out upon the understanding. This fills the whole house, the whole body, with a balm, an odor, a fragrance, a vibration, a resonance that heal and bless all. Acquisitiveness, Judas says that this precious substance should be sold, that the proceeds might be devoted to the poor. That is, the faculty of accumulation would not pour out so precious a thing as love without getting a money value in return, in order that the poor thoughts of the bodily need might be supplied. So those are the people who stockpile, when it ain't, even when it ain't a need to. This Judas says to teachers of truth, it is better for people to pay promptly for all teaching and healing. We're talking about some of these channels. This Judas says to teachers of truth, it is better for people to pay promptly for all teachings and healings. You have temporal needs that have to be supplied. Don't be too liberal with this precious truth. It is valuable and will bring money. Don't pour out your love and healing sympathy indiscriminately. Make people pay a good round price, and they will appreciate what they get. Remember, however, that this Judas is a thief and a deceiver and a betrayer of his own. Let y'all sit in that for a minute. He is deceiving the whole world today, and even metaphysicians who are free in all other ways are bound by this false reason. See, this don't spare nobody. The understanding has its days of darkness, but where love has been quickened and the whole consciousness has been flooded with this sympathy and compassion, there is always consolation. He said, suffer her to keep it against the day of my burying. He said, suffer her to keep it against the day of my burying. So we're going to go through something while we're here to get the way we're going. And I hope that place that we going is the consciousness that we have established in ourselves that I previously read, called heaven. Otherwise, heaven's gonna take a whole lot of hell to go through to get to it. That's the completion of the day, family. New subscribers, I do a raffle at the end of the month. I'm giving away well, I'm not giving it away. It's gonna be earned, but I'm gifting a frosted crystal 7 chakra necklace to whoever comes out the jar this month. You must be subscribed, watch the video, place the proper emoji. As simple as that. Otherwise, thanks to the Cosmic Conscious family. Devil salute. Thanks for those who share the message. Thanks for those who like the message. Thanks for those who send love offers. Thanks for those who donate. Thanks for those who just appreciate what I do. You know, it's an honor to be here. My name is Sawu. I will place any information. I will place the information needed for those who want to contact me in case you want anything. And my cash app information in the description. Other than that, I don't think I forgot none other than the emoji. What we gonna do tonight? I think it's like some people. I think it's for the women, do the dancing lady. For the fellas, do the dancing man. You hear me? And that's gonna be the emoji for the night. I appreciate y'all, family. Love, Sawu.